classes, and we didn't have workshops, but we talked about having workshops. So this what you're seeing this year is from that old vision. And so it's just really wonderful to see the next phase of that vision come to fruition. There's a difference I learned between a business owner and an entrepreneur. You know, a business owner manages the business. An entrepreneur is like, for those of you that are my scandal cohorts in the room, we are problem solvers. Mm-hmm. Because if you can solve a problem, you can become an entrepreneur. Yeah. Business owners manage the problems that entrepreneurs solve. And so for every issue that you have, somebody has the answer. Mm-hmm. And somebody in this room has the answer to a problem that they just didn't even realize everybody else was having that problem too. Well, that's what Miss Allen did. She was at home working her business. But then, you know what happens when you work from home? You see the laundry. You see the dishes. You see your long list of things to do, and you leave your business and you go to that list of things to do. And she said, something else has got to come out of this. There must be something I can do. And what she did was created the BizLynks Center. And this is a place for entrepreneurs to go and work so that you can work your business without looking at your list of things to do. She has private offices that you can rent a private office. She has desks. You can rent a desk. Or you can have a monthly membership where you can just go to the center. You can even get your mail there. So you have your own office address where you're not using a post office box. Also, a new thing she has is video, and I'm going to let her tell you a little bit more about that. So if you're interested in doing a show or having videotape, she can do that too. She is a fixer. We had a problem, and she fixed it. And so she's going to tell us a little bit about moving from being an employee to being an entrepreneur, to being a fixer, fixing that problem that other people are dealing with and making money. Because there's a way to monetize fixing problems. Mm-hmm. I mean, before Olivia Pope, did you really think you were paid to fix problems? That's a professional fixer. So we're going to have her come and tell us a little bit more. But before she comes, I just want to be thankful of the people that really helped put this together. I'm so thankful to the university for allowing us to have International Women's Day. I'm thankful for the students that stepped up. Lakeitha Willingham and Rachel Jackson, two of the students that are working with me on the International Business Club. I'm so thankful for you and all that you've done. Without them, I tell you. We have a new employee here as well. She's not here. She's getting food for you guys. So we want to offer her thanks, Tavis Caldwell, and also Rick Wiley. So I just want to be thankful to them. And also, before we get started, the faculty members that are in the room, would you please stand so that we may recognize you? Strayer University faculty members. So, without further ado, and if I didn't thank you, I will catch you on the recap. Trust me. All of the speakers who are not Strayer University's, just in case you guys have to leave, let me go ahead and offer thanks for you too. For those of you that are presenting that are not faculty members, I'm going to ask you to stand. Just in case you have to leave, you're not going to be a part of the recap. Thank you. Looking around, we're expecting more people to come, and so I know that they will. And that's my mom. Employee to entrepreneur. Thank you, Ms.
Well, I must say it's a beautiful introduction. I was starting to get worried because you were going to give away a little bit of a message. But it was right on time and right in line with what I was going to share. So I'm going to get going in here. But first, I do want to thank Strayer. I want to thank the faculty and staff, and definitely Professor for bringing me here. I'm really excited to talk to you all because I get to talk about technology so much. I'm a tech ed. So, and I've always been in the technology field, so I always get to talk about that, but I don't as often get an opportunity just to talk about business in general and about being an entrepreneur. I get a chance one-on-one when I'm talking to somebody or preaching about something related to our businesses, but I don't always get a chance to talk to a group like this, so I'm really excited to be here today, and just it's such an honor to be invited to actually be here speaking for such a great occasion for International Women's Day. That's just, the icing on the cake. For it to be for that purpose as well. And I want to share a bit about my journey with you all, and as a tech ed, I did have my iPad, so because I have a lot that I want to share with you all, so I'll roam around a little bit with it. But I want to share a bit about my journey and some things that I've learned about entrepreneurship. But let me first ask, how many entrepreneurs do we actually have in the room? Actual entrepreneurs in your business now. Okay, fantastic. So we got a good number of them in the room. So now I want to ask you all, so we've got how many entrepreneurs we have in the room. Let me ask, how many of you all are interested in entrepreneurship? How many are interested in entrepreneurship? Okay, so we've got several that are interested in entrepreneurship. Okay, so now as I thought about the topic, great topic from employee to entrepreneur, and as I thought about it, a key word came to mind, and that's commitment. Commitment. People who are interested in something only do it when it's convenient. People who are committed to something only accept results, not excuses. So today I want you to think, you don't have to answer, you can think to yourself, but are you interested in entrepreneurship? Or are you committed to entrepreneurship? And that's a little bit about what we're going to talk about today. I want you to think about that throughout today. Are you interested in entrepreneurship or are you committed to entrepreneurship? So now when I get into a bit of it, I'll tell you a bit of my background and story as far as entrepreneurship goes. I was really bit with the entrepreneur bug. I think I didn't realize it at the time, but back in grade school. So in grade school, I always had the opportunity to be able to ride to school with my mother and in the car, and she would stop and get her newspaper. And so I would always run in the store and get some, y'all remember the now and laters? Yes. Okay, the now and laters, not now or laters. But I would always run in and get the now and laters, so for the candy. Now, the reason I would do this is because most of my friends rode the school bus to school, so they didn't have an opportunity to go and get the now and laters. So now back then, the now and laters were about 10 cents a pack, and there were about 9 of the little taffy candies in the package, okay? So I would take them to school, and I would sell each individual now and later for 5 cents. So I would make a 35-cent profit on my investment for the now and later. So as you can imagine, what I did with that is I then took my 35-cent profit, I went and bought 3 more packs of now and later, and then I saved 5 cents. Okay, so I was doing pretty well. So by the end of the summer, you can imagine I had a good little chunk of change, on the side with this profit. So that was really my first opportunity to be a business. Didn't realize, what I was doing. I was just making a little money and, some spending money for the summertime. But that was really my first introduction to entrepreneurship. And then as I go on in time, the next time I really think about my experience with entrepreneurship is when I was in college. So in college, we had the Alpha Sweethearts, and I was the president of our Alpha Sweetheart organization, and there were a lot of us. There were many more of us than there were brothers. And we always wanted to go to the conventions. So now the conventions, they can be pricey because we have to pay for the fees and go to the convention. We have to rent cars, have to pay for the gas, need the food and all of that. So now we're college students though. So we're broke. And so we had to figure out how are we going to pay for this endeavor. So I was in the math computer science field. So I had a computer. And I'd already, because if I'm going to learn something, I might as well apply it to something real and in real time. So I had already generated a database of all the sweethearts that had their information and their class schedules and their availability and all of that. So then I stopped and said, okay, I've noticed these other organizations have bagel sales. Now, I said, I'm from South Georgia, so we were in the biscuits, so this is my first introduction to bagels. But they were having bagel sales. So I'm like, okay, so I had to stop, come up with a plan. Didn't realize it was a business plan back then, but it was a business plan. I came up with a plan on how we were going to be able to have these bagel sales, raise this money. So I had to lay out all the logistics of it. You know, who was going to cover it, who was going to pick it up. You know, only a few of us actually had cars on campus. So who was going to pick up the bagels, who was going to cover the table. Oh, how do we get permission to actually even have a table? You know, so I had to figure all this out. So I had my little plan, my computer. I did a spreadsheet where I planned out who was going to cover based on their class schedule and all of that. So went and found out how to get a table, and then made sure that it was a table in the building that had the most activity, because location, 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 right? So we found the building that had the most activity, so we wanted to have our table there so we could have our bagel sales. And that's exactly what we did. And the outcome of it, all the young ladies that wanted to go to the conventions went to conventions. Most of the schools had 2 or 3 alpha sweethearts that went to the convention. Emory University had about 20 plus that went to the convention. We had our rental cars, we had the gas paid. We usually had the brothers going, "Don't have any spare seats in your cars. We need some rides." So that was my next introduction to being in business and what it takes to actually start a business. So fast forward on, went into the corporate world, and joined the corporate world, and that's something I definitely suggest to everyone, of course, that you get that experience in the corporate world and learn more about business that way. So I always had some kind of business on the side. So I started a desktop publishing business. So with my friends, I would make business cards for them. I would make invitations if they had a party for them, help them with their resumes and so on. Because again, what I did was everything that I would learn how to do, I figured out some way I was going to monetize that and make money out of it. So that was kind of my first introductions to being an entrepreneur and starting businesses. I wasn't committed yet. I was still just interested in it. It was something I was doing on the side. So I had another business that I did on the side, and then at one point I was with a company that had a lot of layoffs. So I eventually was laid off in that company. I was okay with that. I drove home and said, "Okay, Lord, what do you want me to do? I have this business over here that I've already kind of started, so I can run with that." So I took advantage of the opportunities that are out there, the education that was out there through the Small Business Development Center. I took advantage of the Workforce Investment Act, and I went and I said, "Now, you all know, for me to get a job making what I was making before, they want much more education. So I need some education." Now, of course, in the back of my mind, the education was for me to grow my business, but I just decided to look for the job. I did need that as well, and what I told them was true, but of course, in my mind, I'm thinking, I'm going to learn what I need to do to really make this into a business and learn the skill set to start a business. And that's what I did with that. So that's how BizLynks was born. And I originally started out doing web design services, so that was part of what I was doing at the time in my role with my corporate job. So I started BizLynks, but I had a vision. And that vision was to have a training center. I always loved training. I always incorporated training into my business or into what I did into my job. So I wanted to have a training center. And over time, I still worked for corporate. I started my business, and at one point, I decided, well, I better go back to work and get some extra money, pay some bills off and things like that. But what I had realized was I was starting to make myself unemployable. Because I would go to the job, I'm really only here to make some money, to pay some bills. When they started asking about goals and things, I'm like, well, I need to work with my clients. I got a website project I want to work on. You sure I can't work from home? Because, I can get this job done too, but right now I want to work on the client. So, you kind of get yourself to a place where you're really unemployable if you truly get to where you're committed for your business and to grow your business. So I did that, and then I am happy to report, of course, 10 years from that time, I actually did start the BizLynks Center, and as Veronica shared, or Professor Slater shared, the BizLynks Center is up and running, and we're really excited about that, and it has really morphed into something more, because like she said, we wanted to solve a problem, and that's what we want to make sure that we do. So I don't want to digress too far and take you off the mark, because I do have some interesting information that I want to share with you, and what I thought about when I thought about from employee to entrepreneur. 3 keys to this. Now, there are many, many keys to going to an entrepreneur level, but these are kind of the 3 keys that I really wanted to pull out today to share with you all. So the first one, know your why. Know your why. Why do you want to be an entrepreneur? Why do you want to be an entrepreneur? Now, there's this myth out there called the entrepreneur myth. There's a whole book about it called the E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber. E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber. Excellent book. If you're interested in entrepreneurship, I suggest you go to the library, check out the book, thumb through it, read the book. If you're committed to entrepreneurship, I suggest you buy the book, buy a highlighter, buy a journal, study this book, and then in 3 months go back and start all over again, highlight, take notes, and really go through this book. Excellent information, the E-Myth Revisited, excellent book. But now the E-Myth talks about 2 things around the E-Myth. One myth is that small businesses are started by entrepreneurs. And most of the time that's not the case. Small businesses are started by entrepreneurs. And then the other part of that myth is the assumption that is the assumption that if you understand the technical work of a business, you understand a business that does the technical work. If you understand the technical work of a business, you understand a business that does the technical work. And that's the rub. That's where we really miss what it is about being an entrepreneur. So think about, why is it? What's your why? Why do you want to start a business? It's because you're in a job now and pretty much management is kind of clueless and they don't know what they're doing and you know better and you can do it better. Or it's that, you're the best cake baker out there, you're the best hairstylist out there, you're the best computer technician out there, so you should start a business running this. How many people have said, you're great at this, you need to start a business doing this? Or is it that you just want to manage your own time, you want to call your own shots? All of this is far from the truth and some of the worst reasons to start a business. Okay? When you start a business, you must love running an actual business. Now, in the E-Myth, they talk about, there's 3 levels. I won't get into it too deeply, but they talk about the technician. And that's typically why most people want to start a business, because they have a particular task that they do well, and they can run a business doing that particular task. Then there's the manager. That's the one that's running the operations, keeping up with everything, making sure everything's in order. And there's the entrepreneur visionary. That's the person that's out there that's seeing the complete vision for the business and really making sure that that business is growing and thriving. So we have those 3 different people that are within us when we start our business. So, but most of the time the attention goes to the technician as opposed to the entrepreneur visionary. So when starting your businesses, you've got to think about moving out of that technician role. That thing that you love to do that you want to start your business, forget about all that. You really want to think about, what is it going to take to run this business? What is your why? To make sure that you're keeping in mind, what is your why? Now, when many people start a business, because they got in there because of the whole E-Myth, they find out maybe a year down the line that they actually don't have a business, they own a job. They own a job. When we think about that, employees get paid for what they do. Entrepreneurs get paid for the problems they solve. And that's exactly what Professor Slater said earlier. Entrepreneurs get paid for the problems they solve. So when you're thinking about your why, you want to make sure your why is tied to the problems that you want to solve. With the BizLynks Center, for example, I saw there was a whole segment of small businesses that were not being serviced. We have home base, and then we have the businesses that have grown and they're ready for their private offices or using the virtual office suite. Well, you have a whole segment of business that really needs to get out of their office. They need someplace to go meet. They need someplace to really get work done. But they're not ready yet for that private office space. And that's what we saw. And I saw it because I needed it. So oftentimes the problems exist for ourselves, and that's something that we can come up with as far as our business goes. So I found, I was going to Satellite Office A, which was the Starbucks over here, Satellite Office B, which is Barnes & Noble, and things like that. And there's, more and more businesses started up because of the economy. And so they're out there trying to meet in these locations. It's like, this isn't going to work. I had one person that posted on Facebook, she was at a Starbucks. And she went there for what its purpose is, casually meet with a friend, chit-chat and whatnot. Well, there were the people there working on their computers. And finally, at some point, one of the people on their computer said, do you mind keeping it down? I'm trying to work. No. At Starbucks, yes. And of course, I immediately responded, well, see, that's why BizLynks Center exists. But you want to think about the problems that you're solving. What is your why? So make sure that you're keeping that in mind. You don't want to be thinking about getting just paid for what you do. You want to be thinking about the problems that you're solving. So you've got to know your why. The why being grounded into what your whole purpose is. So again, I'm going to ask you, are you interested in entrepreneurship? Or are you committed to entrepreneurship? Now, the second key, when we talk about moving from employee to entrepreneurship, well, actually, even before I move to the second key, the other thing that I wanted to make sure that I shared with you is that Entrepreneurship is not for everyone. Right? Someone still has to do the work. We need someone to do the work for us. So it's not for everyone. So you really do want to think about it. It's okay if entrepreneurship is not for you. And that's part of the purpose for doing things like this, to really find out, is this something that I want to commit my time to? Because it's definitely a major commitment when you're looking at what you're doing with your business. So the second key, learn how things work. Learn how things work. Okay, now there are a lot of moving parts when you're talking about being an entrepreneur and running a small business. You're the CEO, the COO, the CTO, the CMO, and then if you're crazy like me, that's not enough titles, so you want to create one, so I'm the CCO, and that's just the C-suite of it all. So beyond that, you got to remember that you're still the janitor, you're the admin, you're the receptionist, you're the marketing person, and it goes on and on and on and on. Okay? So you want to think about the bottom line again, getting away from that whole entrepreneur myth. Stop that entrepreneur seizure. Learn the ins and outs of running a business. Learn the ins and outs of running a business. Now back to the bagel sales story. So with that, I had to find out the process I mentioned about what does it take to get the permission to be able to have a table. So you have the process. So what are the ins and outs of this? What are the ins and outs of renting enough vehicles so that everyone can go that is going to be going to business? What are the ins and outs of the financial side of it? Well, we know we have money that has to go out because we have to buy the vehicles, we have to buy the supplies and everything. And then we want to make sure that we're understanding when the money comes in, how we need to apply that and how we need to then make sure that the cash flow is the way it needs to be. At what point do we break even from our initial investment to get things started? So we have to learn the ins and outs of the business. We have to learn the ins and outs of that particular enterprise. Now, one of the best ways to learn a system is to be an employee. So you want to start with being an employee. But be the best employee out there. Don't learn just your business, your position, because again, remember, you're getting paid for what you do. But you need to understand, what is that person over there doing? What's the person in the cubicle next to me doing? What's my manager doing? What does it take to run this business? One thing I always did when I worked in corporate was I always made sure I was happy with what my job is. We have too many people, right, that are out there, they're complaining about their job, and you're wondering, why are you still in it? And they're not going to go anywhere. They just want to complain about it. Well, that wasn't for me. I wanted to always make sure that I enjoyed my job, but I was always looking for what's the next step? What's the next thing? How do I get to that next step? What do I need to do? And part of that was learning, okay, what is this particular job over here? What is the manager doing? What's the role for the manager? How does this company run? Making sure that you're in a job, if you're going to do a job, make sure you're in one that's tied to what it is you want to do long term. I was fortunate enough that I really enjoyed technology, so I stayed in the technology field one way or the other. Always made sure that I had that opportunity to grow from the training side of it, because I always enjoyed the training piece. So I figured out a way to finagle training into whatever my job was. So you make your opportunities for yourself. I remember I worked at National Data Corporation when I first started the job force, and I was in the call center, but I knew I wanted to get the corporate office. And in call centers, this is very interesting in call centers. Most adults act like teenagers in call centers and, don't want to be on the phones and are doing all the different things to get off the phones and things like that. But one day corporate came and visited. And so I happened to ask one of the corporate people, well, what does it take to get to the corporate office? And so, they explained what that process was. So you got to know how it works. You got to know what the systems are. So I followed that process, and I applied, and I found a position that would work for me, and then I applied, and I moved to corporate. Of course, all the folks that are sitting around complaining, like, we're going to go to corporate. We want to do that too. But you've got to want to have that drive that you're going to put into it to find out what is the system, how does it work, what are the inner workings. I found out what the managers do in the diet. So in my breaks, I'm sitting there in the diets looking at them, watching them do their job, because I want to know how that works. I need to know what does it take to run this type of business if this is the type of business I'm in. If it's not the type of business I'm in, then I need to make sure that I'm moving. I made a transition to executive training because that was all about computer training. That's what I love. I had to take a pay cut to go there. But in a year's time, I was making more than what I would have made if I stayed where I was. So sometimes you have to look at that too. You have to look at what those investments are. Investments come in a lot of different ways. Okay? So learn the system. Go beyond learning your job. Now, as you're learning the various roles, you're going to be taken out of your comfort zone often. You're going to be taken out of your comfort zone. And you're going to go far away from, again, that technician job, that role for what you thought you were starting the business for. Whether it was, I'm going to own a bakery, or whether it's I'm going to own a barbershop, or I'm going to own a computer repair business. You're going to get taken away from doing that actual task because you got to run the business. Remember I said, you got to love running a business. So you want to keep all these things in mind. Every time someone tells me I'm going to start a business doing that, I'm like, oh, okay, great. You're going to have to love running that business. You're going to have to love being CEO, CCO, CTO, CMO, and all of those other roles. And you're going to have to learn the ins and outs of what that means. Yes, absolutely, you're going to grow beyond that and have other people in that role. But until then, you need to know all the ins and outs of that. And that's part of what Ethan talks about as well. You still got to have your job descriptions for all those roles. Even if you're the one in all those roles, you need to have those job descriptions for those roles so that when you start filling them, you're able to then, hand those steps over and those tasks over. But you got to learn how things work. You got to learn how things work. Now, I always like to say, there's one word that is not in an entrepreneur's vocabulary, and that's failure. Failure is not in our vocabulary whatsoever. It has no reason to be there. I love the quote from Thomas Edison where he says, I didn't fail. I just found 10,000 ways not to do something. Right. It's about results. Whereas the people who are committed to something only accept results, not excuses. No one said all the results were going to be positive results. But their results one way or another. We're one more step closer to finding out. I got that one out the way. That doesn't work. I got it out the way. Now I can get to what does work. So you always have to keep that in mind. So failure is not in our vocabulary. Fear of failure is not in our vocabulary. And if you think people are afraid of failure, they are terrified of success. It's amazing, exactly. People are so terrified of success. Now, you don't have to get fear out of the way, but your success is going to be determined by your ability to make a decision. Your success is determined by your ability to make a decision. As an entrepreneur, you're going to have decisions to make, and you're going to make some tough decisions every single day. It goes from the simple things like, should I buy this ream of paper or that ream of paper, this paper clip or that paper clip? Should I go LLC? Should I go S Corp, C Corp? What type of business license do I need? What type of bank account works well for us? Do I do 401k? Do I continue on with this particular service that's not really bringing in business? Or, do I stay the course with it? Or do I go ahead and let that particular service go? Do I hire this person? Do I let this person go? These are all tough decisions that you have to make in your business. You make tough decisions every single day. But that's what it's all about. Your success is going to be based on your ability to make a decision. Your ability to make a decision, okay? You have to make the tough ones. So one of the first decisions that you have to make is deciding, are you interested or are you committed? Are you interested or are you committed? I'll use an example, a personal example. I used to always say, I really got to lose weight. I got to lose weight. I was just interested in losing weight. Right. I wasn't really committed to losing weight. I didn't get committed until the beginning of this year. Now I'm committed. I'm in every single day. I don't let it stop me. Even if I have to talk myself up in the morning, I'm committed. But before, I was just interested. There's oftentimes things that we say we want to do, and we look down the line year after year after year, we're still saying we want to do that. We're not committed. We're interested. Okay? So there's the difference. So you always want to be asking yourself, are you interested or are you committed? Okay? And then the third key for moving from employee to entrepreneur. Know your worth. Know your worth. Now, this is a tricky one because it's all about mindset, right? Knowing what your worth is. Now, sometimes it's a challenge. It's a challenge for me to have to remind myself all the time about my value and not to devalue my services. Okay? Too often, people are constantly asking you to actually devalue your services. Okay? So you have to know your worth. And sometimes it's a challenge because as small businesses or as entrepreneurs, we may be struggling. We're trying to pay the bills. We're trying to keep the roof over our head. So sometimes we look at it and say, well, this dollar is better than no dollar. So we go ahead and do the hookup, offer the service for much less than what we should offer it for. We devalue our service, and we do it time and time again. But what happens is, at some point, that customer comes along that was going to pay you $3. but you don't have time to work on their project because you're committed to that $1 project. So you want to think about that when you want to think about your value. You know, so, and it's hard. It's hard to turn down cash. It's hard to turn it down. But sometimes it does not value your service. You have to turn it down. You have to turn it down because you could be spending that time doing something more productive to bring in other cash for your business compared to spending that time working on a project that really wasn't what it needed to be. And you're mad the whole time you're working on the project anyway, right? Because you know you shouldn't charge what you charge and you shouldn't have given it away. So, you know, put that energy into really doing what it is that you need to do for your business and growing the business so that you aren't devaluing your services. Too many micro-entrepreneurs have not truly determined their worth. Okay? They allow the customers to value their service. Now, don't get it twisted. Discounts are not about you saving money on a particular product. It is about you spending money on something else. Okay? Most of the time you have a discount, you go in some place, yes, you get that item, but you go and buy something else because you just saved money, right? So it's about you also spending money on another item, right? So the discounts really aren't about the devaluing of the service. The discount is about how can you get someone in the doors and then upsell what you need to upsell to them, okay? So you know the old saying, give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. Teach a man to fish, he'll eat for a lifetime. He'll eat for a lifetime. Y'all not listening. This is about your worth. Teach a man to fish, you can sell him a lot of accessories. Okay, y'all have to change that whole, I don't even remember the old way. Teach a man to fish, you can sell him a lot of accessories. Okay, so keep that in mind. Know your worth. Okay, and I'm going to go back to the question that I always ask. Are you interested or are you committed? Are you interested or are you committed? Okay, now earlier I mentioned employees get paid for what they do, right? Entrepreneurs get paid for the problems they solve. Now T. Harv Eker, he has a great book as well. It's called Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. And that's another book you should really get and really look at what your mindset is about money. So we're in business to make money, right? Even nonprofits have to make money to keep the nonprofit going, right? Okay, so we're in business to make money. And what he says is there's nothing wrong with getting a steady paycheck unless it interferes with your ability to earn what you're worth. Okay? The knowledge to solve someone's problem is far more valuable than the work it takes to actually do it. The knowledge to solve that problem is far more valuable than the work it takes to actually do it. So always keep that in mind. Remember your worth. T. Harv Eker, E-K-E-R. The Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. Now, if you're still not sure if you're interested or if you're committed, I have 3 C's that will, without a doubt, let you know whether you're committed. Okay? Without a doubt. The first C, your contacts. Who are your contacts? Who are your contacts? If you're the smartest one in your group, you need a new group. You need a new group. You want to make sure that you're constantly around people that you can learn from and you can grow from. Of course, you want to reach back and you want to share and pay it forward as well. But you also want to look at who are your contacts. You're going to have to get rid of some toxic folks in your life. Toxic folks might be friends, might be family. That doesn't mean you're not going to love them. You're not going to talk to them from time to time. But if you're truly committed to growing your business, you're not going to be able to share your vision and your idea with everyone, whether it's family or whether it's friends. You're not going to be able to share it with everyone. So you want to really make sure that you protect that. Okay? Social media. I'm a techie. I love social media. Love all the tech stuff. But I have to watch it because I'm committed to my business. So I can't spend my time out there. There are a lot of people that we're connected to that are really killing our time. And you got to look at that with social media. You got to let some things go. We are in a world of TMI. It's just too much information. And it's not all bad. There's a lot of great information. It's just so much of it. So we have to learn how to filter we have to go back to the understanding how things work, making sure that we're tying it to what our business is and growing our business, okay? So your contacts, so you want to look at who are you connected to. Start cleaning up your contacts. Start cleaning out those toxic folks that are really time killers. The next C, your checkbook. Your checkbook. How are you spending your money? Are you eating out? Are you buying a lot of shoes, ladies? Are you buying, cars, things that are just material things that have nothing to do with growing your business? How are you spending your money? You want to think about that. And to tie a checkbook to contacts, if you got 9 broke friends, you're probably the 10th. So you want to think about that. Who are you spending time with? Are you just out hanging out? I went to dinner with a couple of girlfriends last Saturday, and they were talking about, we're going to go here, we're going to do this. Pam can't do that, I'm sorry. Pam has a business that she's trying to run, and I'm committed to that business. So sometimes you're not going to be able to do everything with your friends. So you've got to look at that. So you've got to look at that checkbook. Now, let's see, what was I going to tell you here? So with the entrepreneur part of it and talking about going from an employee to entrepreneur. So when you're looking at your checkbook really tells you, you should take some time, pull out your checkbook and see, where you're spending your money. Are you interested in being an entrepreneur? So, you bought a little Entrepreneur for Dummies book. That's showing some interest, right? Are you committed to being an entrepreneur? Are you taking a class, a program that really helps you learn all the ins and outs of growing your business and building your business? Are you going to the proper networking events? Even though some of them, yes, they have costs to them, but are you investing in that? Are you putting money aside to build what you need to build for your business? If you're an employee at this point, are you putting money aside so that you have startup funds for your business? So you want to look at where your money is going, what your checkbook is telling you about what you're truly interested in. Accept it and then decide, I want to get committed if that's what you truly want to do. If you're fine, that's okay too. But if you're really interested in being an entrepreneur, make sure that you look at that and see, where's my money going? How am I spending my money? Now the third C, so we got your contacts, we got your checkbook. Third one is your calendar. Third one's your calendar. Your calendar shows you how you spend your time and how you value your time, how you value each moment. Okay. Now, the best thing I can share that I've done to help me with my time and how I value my time, turn off my cable. Sorry, scandal friends. But I had to turn off my cable. I realized it was sucking up my time. I found myself sitting on the couch because I'm tired at the end of the day, but I still have work to do because I'm an entrepreneur. Because I'm here to tell you right now, when I say work in a job, be the first one there, be the first one to leave. Okay? Because you might as well get used to it. Because as an entrepreneur, you are not going to work a 9-to-5 job, a 9-to-5. Okay? You're going to have to put in the time. So when I get home, I'm tired, but I have more work that I need to do. I might need to do the books at that point. I can't do them during the day at the office, so I may need to do those at home. But I found myself tired, propped down, sitting on the couch like a couch potato, flipping around channels, wasn't even watching anything. The TV guys, what I was watching, just kept flipping it, waiting for something to show up that I wanted to see. Then I'd wait for the 30-minute mark, and then flip again, say, okay, maybe something's going to come on now. You look up, it's 3 hours later. And you're not even watching it, or you're watching some show you've seen 15 times. So the best thing I did was I had to make that decision. The rest of your success is going to be about making decisions. I finally made that decision. Now I have to cut this off. Now I love the entertainment because I kept it for the longest time. I felt like, that's my real own form of entertainment because I don't spend my money going out, right? Because it's about my checkbook. But I was like, you know what? I got to spend the time. I got things I need to read. I got things I need to learn. I need to get the knowledge about growing my business. I'm committed to this. So I had to make that hard decision and go ahead and do it. Now, not telling everybody to go touch cable. Do what works for you because you may not be wasting time. I love TV. So that's what I was doing. So I had to change that. I allowed myself to watch a little show here or there on the iPad, but that was what I found was wasting my time. It was a way for me to procrastinate. Procrastination is a thief of profit. Procrastination is a thief of profit. So that worked for me. Now you got to look at how you're spending your time and the value of time. You have to maximize your minutes. Maximize your minutes. Halle Berry earns $50 a minute for what she is. Tiger Woods earns $175 a minute for what he does. Steven Spielberg earns $675 a minute because of what he has others doing. Bill Gates earns $6,750 a minute because of what he has the world doing. How valuable is your minute? How are you spending your minute? How are you maximizing your minute? If you're not increasing your value per minute, it means that you're lacking in the commitment. You should always be asking yourself, is what I'm doing right now a revenue-generating activity? Is it a catalyst to me maximizing my minutes? Is it value to me in increasing the value of my time and what my worth is? So when we go back to it's about your worth and understanding your worth and understanding your value, every moment you want to be asking yourself that. Yeah. So I go back. I'm going to ask you one last time. Are you interested? Or are you committed? Are you interested or are you committed? And as you go over your notes, and you just think about the information that I shared, and hopefully I gave you some good nuggets and some things to think about. Before I open up and see if you have any questions, I want to leave you with one last thought. As you all can see, I love quotes. Quotes really just give me that energy and reminders of me being committed and what I'm committed about. So I'm going to leave you with one last quote. As we think about going from employee to entrepreneur, my question and my quote for you is, how do you become a butterfly? You have to want to fly so bad that you're willing to give up being a caterpillar. Thank you, ladies, for your time. I hope you got some good information. Any questions at all? Yes, sir.
Where is BizLynks located?
We are located off of Pleasant Hill and Club Drive, right in the Gwinnett Place area. Any more questions? Yes.
If I wanted to find out more about some of the events that you have, where would that be located?
Well, thank you for asking. It will be located on our website, www.thebizlinkscenter.com. And BizLynks is spelled BizLynks, thebizlinkscenter.com. And of course, we're all over everything, social media. We're optimized on the website, and we do quite a bit of branding out there, so you'll find us in a lot of places, but you'll be able to find that information on the website as far as our upcoming events and things that we have at the center. Got a lot of great events, because again, we're about solving those problems for the small businesses. What do the small businesses need? They need a place to work, but you also need resources. You know, you need web services, you need affordable admin services. As Professor Slater mentioned, we have a studio at the center, small green screen studio. So we help businesses that want to get out there and do more than just the text testimonials, for example. You want to do more video. So we do a lot of different videos. You want commercials for your business, but you want something affordable. You don't want to spend $500 to get a 1-minute commercial done. So we do a lot of that, put on live shows as well. So for those that want to have a show, definitely check out our site, bizlinks.tv, to get more information about that too. Thanks for asking. Any other questions?
Can you just give us your major quote that you said at the beginning? People who are interested only do it?
Yeah. People who are interested in something only do it when it's convenient. People who are committed to something only accept results, not excuses.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Okay. I'll give it to you. People who are interested in something